So, we're at the ThoughtWorks Mothership in London today to talk about Cruise. With me I've got Chris Reed, who does a lot of infrastructure and continuous integration stuff at ThoughtWorks. He was on the product team. Got pre-sales engineer and all-round nice guy Andy over here. So I've just got a few questions to ask. And the first one is, why would you use Cruise instead of Hudson?
It depends on what you want to do. So from a technical perspective, Hudson is great if you're still in the old school of continuous integration, where you have a build and the build does stuff and gives you your feedback. If you've got little projects, it's great. If you're not using pipelines, it's great. It's got lots of nice shiny toys on it. But the problem is, if it's still very developer-centric, it's developer-focused, and it's really focused just on the build. Whereas Cruise extends the pipeline. It's what we've been calling, CI++ for a while now, where it's doing the build and it's doing the feedback, but it's not just doing one build for your project. For example, the one client that I'm working at the moment, what we've got is a build pipeline. What we do is we have builds, a build to collect all the metrics and publish all the metrics. We've got a build that publishes our deployable artifacts and generates the release notes. We've got another build that does kind of validation on encoding, because it's a website and there's all sorts of UTF-8 encoding, there's all sorts of other validation that goes on, that the templates and the code and everything is correct. And then after that we go and run some functional tests across a whole board of machines. So it's a build grid, it's not a build server. We've got this grid of machines, we've got a whole bunch of twist tests that run, functionally testing it. Once that all passes, then it gets deployed into an integration environment. Now we're integrating and we run some more tests. And then after that we go into a performance test environment and runs a whole bunch of performance tests. So one check-in is now doing this whole load of things. It's not just doing a build to show you feedback. It's telling you that it's giving you all your code metrics, it's giving you your functional tests with the browser, it's giving you integration tests, integrating with all the third-party points in the system that you need to integrate with, and it's giving you performance tests. It's giving us basic performance test information around our app's doing it. And it's caught a couple of issues where developers done one check-in, performance has gone from average search time takes takes 380 milliseconds. Now suddenly takes almost 2 seconds for the same search. So straight away we're getting that fast feedback that one check-in has had this huge performance hit. So it's not just a build, it's the whole life cycle.
I think that traditionally you've got very siloed views of the world. So we tend to have a development-centric view, and like Chris was saying just recently, those developer that developer world, you write your code just to pass the next stage, just to pass the QA set of tests, and you don't really think about all the stuff that goes beyond that. And Cruise was designed with this philosophy in mind that starts bridging those gaps, starts thinking about not just developer to QA interaction, but then who else is doing it. We're testing the utilities, testing those things further down the pipeline, and then pushing that further still all the way into in different environments, pre-production environments and production environments at the end. And really sort of starting to break down those silos is a more mature way of looking at what you're doing. You're not just writing a piece of code here, but it's a piece of code that ends up in a production environment actually generating value for someone.
So, okay, I can see that you have a grid and that other CI systems have a grid now, but you're saying that your differentiator is that the pipeline basically is the conduit through which all your development process flows, and the grid just allows you to scale it rather than being at the old school crappy machine in the corner, which would be running 24/7 catching up on builds.
Pretty much.
For sure, and it's then the pipeline allows you to pull out feedback at those different stages that's relevant to different people and different audiences.
Okay, nice.
Then the other thing that's layered on top of that, because at the clients I'm at now, the performance environment is in the production data center. It looks very much like production. The production sysadmins were initially quite hesitant about this. So Cruise provides the security layers that's needed. Only specific people can deploy into production. We're now busy wiring and staging, and we're going to wire in production so that we'll use Cruise for actually doing the production deployments. Again, the security layer says only certain people can press the button to say go, but now we get one-click deployment. Because Cruise has been deploying to the integration environments, it's been deploying to the performance environments. Cruise knows how to deploy the application and get it running. It's the first law of ADDIE. Software has no value until it's running in production.
Very good.
It's just pushing it all the way down, and so now Cruise knows how to deploy it. It's doing it, so why not use it to deploy into production as well?
Oh, fair enough. So we're talking about a sort of a change in outlook and sort of attitude for continuous integration and where it fits in. I've personally encountered some resistance from developers who would just like to get their code written and checked in, thank you very much, and would you mind going away now? So, how are you guys finding that kind of sell of pitching, quite a untraditional view of development, and I think all very good, but I can see scope for resistance there. How are you finding it?
Yeah, some people resist, but generally what you find is most of the resistors are split into two groups. You get the guys who really just don't care. Coding's a 9-to-5 job. They just want to hack on a keyboard for a bit. They don't care about what's happening in the world. They don't care about the code. But generally, these are the guys who generally don't care about CI anyway in the first place. On the other hand, you get the rock stars who look at me, I saved the world again. Just big egos on a monument. Those kind of people are harder to persuade. But generally, on the whole, people may have an initial resistance to it, but once they see it in practice on one project, and then other people within the organization see this happening, more and more people want to switch over and try this, which is again like the clients I'm at the moment. They were using Hudson. We came in, we said, no, we want to have a pipeline, we want to use Cruise, we put Cruise in, and now we've got a couple of other dev groups within the organization saying, hey, can we use Cruise as well? And because Cruise is now a grid, it's not just one server, it's now a centralized service for the client, used by project teams that we aren't involved with, but they're still getting the benefits of having the pipeline and seeing all this metadata coming in.
I think there's something about the technical mindset where folks from each of these different groups, really they are about solving problems, and the limit to the problems that they see, or the limit is that they don't see problems outside of their normal sphere, the normal place where they're working. And as soon as that information becomes more available, as soon as that barrier is broken down, where you see that the changes I make down here have all these knock-on effects, then people get much more involved and excited about actually helping out and figuring out how to work together and solve those problems at a greater level.
So you're actually surfacing a problem to developers or other team members who might not otherwise see it?
Yeah.
Or actually, maybe they see it, but they don't actually reconcile it with, oh, I did that.
And I think the other way around too. It's not, you said developers, but I think that operations too don't see the influence that they have on the upstream processes.
Oh yeah.
And so exposing those two groups to each other through this tool or this practice then sort of allows people to move on to that next level of maturity in a sense.
Yeah, and I guess we've had this huge wedge driven between development and operations for far too long, so it really does impede us, it hurts us all.
Very much so, sure.